Well, today it's a real honor to have with us Dr. Gregory Jantz, and he has co-authored a book, Raising Boys by Design. Perhaps you have seen him on a lot of the other shows around, but now he's arrived. He's on theDove radio and TV, so it's big time for him. Anyway, there's a picture of the book on the screen for you. You may want to check it out. It's put out by Brook, and check it out at the Christian bookstores, Amazon, or at Barnes & Noble. Dr. Jantz, nice to have you with you, my friend.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm a father of two boys. What did I do wrong?
Oh, my goodness. Two boys. Well, I'm a father of two boys, 11 and 14.
All right. Well, mine are quite a bit older than that. I have adult children. But anyway, interesting book because you used the Bible and the brain and some neuroscience. What had you down this road?
You know what? I began to look at what was happening with boys in general in our country. And do you know that 92% of the D's and F's across the board go to our boys?
Why?
92%.
Ooh.
Now, just that statistic alone tells us, you know what? There is something seriously wrong in what we're doing in schools. And so what I did is, having two boys, I wanted to begin to learn to be the very best parent, but I also wanted to see who out there is the best with brain science, with brain development. And I got connected with Michael Garian, and he is the boy specialist. He's written many books related to boys, but he's taken all the brain science about development to help us understand the differences and why we have 92% of our boys failing in schools, and what we can do to help our boys succeed. And I talk about what does it really mean to be a hero, mm-hmm. how to give our sons an appropriate rite of passage. Mm-hmm. And the other piece that's so important is, well, what does the Bible say? Is it consistent with science? And it was really great. We put it together, and the answer is yes, it's good. Just
all right. Again, just for those joining us, Raising Boys by Design.
Yes.
Listen, your findings, 92%, that's a staggering number. Do you think that is cultural, or has it been around for a long time? Is this a recent discovery? Where do you think that number, has it been there all along?
Well, it's gotten worse. We have, and I'm just in the book, I'm holding this awesome book right here. But right now, males are diagnosed with learning disabilities at triple the rate of girls. For emotional diagnoses, the rate is more than triple than girls. And we know that as far as discipline issues, about 90% across the board of discipline issues to the principal's office are boys. Boys are expelled from schools 3 times greater number than girls. So here's what I want to say. You know, just look at the school system. Boys are failing. This is the first time ever in college history we had more female graduates graduate from college than male.
Whoa.
And what's happening is our boys, you know, when do I become a man? What's the rite of passage? And really, truly, and I'll be so bold to say, we must look at our school systems, and this is where Michael Garian, and he has an institute called the Garian Institute, where they've got 10 years of research going into schools, changing some things to adapt how boys learn, and boys are succeeding.
Okay, were
that's
you...
my premise. Let's do what we can do, and for your boy, you know, a lot of times parents are going, I just don't understand what's happening with my son. I'm concerned. That's what this book's about.
Okay, yeah, so it's a real resource, and I want to encourage our viewers and listeners to check that out. All right, so are you saying that there's something wrong with the educational system?
Oh, absolutely. It's failed. And the research is too good. We also have 10 years of research that's showing if we change certain things, you know, simple things. The worst time for a boy to do math is in the morning for most schools and high schools and so forth. So often it's the first topic. We change the time of day, and we also look at when is the testosterone flowing in the brain, when is the brain, and we look at brain development, and we begin to change some things, some simple things. We see radical changes in scores.
Wow.
It's, I started to say, it's not rocket science, but it's brain science.
All right. So, what are they? Why doesn't this affect girls?
Well, in a real simplified form, our school system is really designed more, or caters more to the girls and females. If you tell a young boy who's 6 or 7 years old to sit in a seat in the classroom for 30 minutes and he's wiggling and wiggling, and you keep saying, you got to sit still and do your work. And the kid's wiggling and wiggling, but it doesn't seem like he can get any work done unless he wiggles. The minute he stops wiggling, he can't think. And this is boys a lot of times. So we put bouncy balls and they use as chairs. And if a boy, it sounds silly, but a boy can bounce up and down and do his work like that.
Wow.
Their concentration is better. There's a reason why boys have to move around. It's how the brain works.
All right. Let's go to the hero, the HERO.
Oh yeah, let's talk about a hero.
All right, go for it.
Well, having sons, and I began to watch when I had a son who was in 5th grade, 6th grade. I did a personal experiment. I had a teacher who said, I think your son has attention deficit. He just doesn't sit still. First of all, I was concerned that a teacher would make that suggestion. And secondly, I asked my son to do an experiment. I said, will you tell me and count how many kids go forward in the morning when school starts and they're given a pill? And in his classroom of about 20 or so, there are 8 or 10 boys that go forward every morning and get their pill. They have to take their pill in front of their teacher for attention deficit issues. And so we're drugging our boys early on in order to control their behavior, which I'm going to suggest creates problems for that developing brain. We now know that that's not the best thing to do. That brain is developing, and that's not the best choice. Too often that's still going on. And so a lot of times if we don't know what to do with our boys, we give them a label, they're attention issues, and so often that's not correct. Which brings me to hero. All right? H is for honor. We need to begin early on teaching our boys what honor means. What does it mean to respect and to honor?
Wow.
And so early on, we want to, and they learn this by obviously how we treat our wives, how we treat others, but to honor.
Honor.
And a part of the honor, definition of honor is to respect. And so we want to create young men and know they all have a God plan, they all have a purpose. And you may be concerned that because your son's in junior high and they seem like they're disrespectful, they don't seem like they're showing much honor traits, and you go, I'm really worried. This book's for you. Yeah, because we begin to teach them what honor is. So, that's just the H. But
Okay.
we make this, all parents, all of us can be a part of what I'm going to call a rite of passage for our sons.
Okay.
Our kids don't know, our boys don't know is, when do I become a man? When I get my driver's license? When I'm allowed to drink? I mean, when do I become a man?
Yeah.
It's not clear in our culture.
Wow. Wow. So what do you think that is?
Well, because we have no teaching of rite of passage. And this book will give you a way to do a rite of passage and working through what a hero means in teaching our young boys that now they're becoming young men, and where we talk about things with them that may at first be difficult for us to talk about. But we talk about what are the traits and qualities. We talk about how to treat girls and females, and we talk about sexual topics, and we take topics that maybe we're afraid to talk about.
Wow.
But we've got to put them in an arena to make it healthy to talk about, because, a boy, they're just going to go secret, secret, secret on us.
Wow. You said something earlier, Dr. Jantz, that was so stunning to me, and that is that it seems to be that ADD has just been something that I understand that it's legitimate, but on the other hand, it seemed to be the catch-all for anything that you couldn't control. You just kind of diagnosed these kids with this, and here you are, a parent. Your son was given that diagnosis, and you decided to challenge that. That's got to give tremendous hope to a lot of parents.
Yes, and there is hope. And maybe it's even a high school son, and you've got a lot of concerns. Maybe it's an elementary son, and you just want to make sure that he's covered and he's blessed. Our boys are more emotionally fragile than what we may think, and we really need to protect the emotional lives of our boys.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got to hear that we believe in them. They've got to know that we will stand with them. Too often what we're finding is parents are removing natural consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a recent example. The football player, Brian Holloway, and his vacation home was trashed by 400 teenagers.
Yeah, right.
And, well, the example is he gave them all a chance to come forward and make it right. Well, 4 boys did. And so he didn't press charges against 4 boys, but everybody that didn't come forward that they can identify, he's pressing charges.
Wow.
Here's the interesting piece. There were many parents that were upset with him because he's going to ruin their college future. Here's a parent that's teaching their sons to be deceptive and to lie, not take responsibility, trying to avoid the natural consequences to bad behavior and enabling that behavior. And so, in that case, I would say I have more of an issue with the parents than the boys.
All right, let me take a break here. I want to come back on that. And the book is entitled Raising Boys by Design. Dr. Gregory Jantz is one of the co-authors. A picture there put out by Waterbrook. You may want to check it out. The book's in 2 parts. The inside story, understanding the divine design at work in your boy's life. And then the other part is putting it to work, designing your son's journey to manhood. This is a tremendous resource if you are a parent of a boy. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back, and our special guest today is Dr. Gregory Jantz. He's a co-author of this really tremendous resource called Raising Boys by Design, what the Bible and the brain science reveal about what your sons needs to thrive. And I am fascinated by his research on this. And, Dr. Jantz, we've done a lot of neural research here on audiences and what they do and what makes them work. Never thought for a moment we ought to do this with our sons.
Well, there is a boy brain. Remember, age about 11, 12 is the second highest surge of testosterone going through that young man. Mm. And it usually comes in waves. Isn't that amazing to think? Wow. In a boy's lifetime, a man's lifetime, age about 11, 12, right in there.
Wow.
It's the second highest surge of testosterone through the brain.
Wow.
So the teacher that says to you that, hey, your son's doing great most days in school, but some days I'll ask him a question and he'll go, what?
Yeah.
It's like he's not there.
Yeah.
Well, look, sometimes there's a brain answer for that.
Wow. Wow. Well, part of what I'm hearing you say here is really terrific, because I think what happens if we're not careful, we're not on top of this as parents, and these boys just go through the system and they're not assisted, especially as parents, and then what's happening by design in school, they can really get damaged. I mean, they can really get discouraged. If they're getting the D's and F's, then what's the use?
That's what happens to the boys. What's the use? Now, a boy is going to always migrate towards where they feel the most acceptance. So I'm not doing well in school, and I can't seem to perform well. They get discouraged.
Yeah.
They're going to move over into probably an unhealthy peer group.
Wow. All right, what's the parents' role in this? Because you obviously took a proactive role, but so many parents will just do what the school's telling them to do.
Well, I'm going to say be careful with that. I'm going to say gather your resources. You're going to be your kid's best advocate. And, one of the things that I did was I actually took my son to a neuroscientist to be evaluated, and I took back 15, 20-page report to the teacher that showed that there was no attention deficit issues at all. Here's the best learning styles, etc. And sometimes we've got to educate, and too often they're locked in an old system of thinking. And too often we make quick judgments, and they're inappropriate.
All right, you have a chapter on protecting and supporting a boy's emotional life. We don't see boys as emotional as girls. However, boys are very emotional.
Well, and they don't always know what to do with their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say protecting a boy's emotional life, let's say you have something really important to talk to your son about, and you say, sit down, we're going to talk about something, and look at me in the eyes, and you're pretty intense, and the minute your son sits down, and he's trying to look at you in the eyes, and you let him have it, whatever it is, I've told you 100 times to clean your room, and you're still not cleaning your room. You're leaving the clothes on the floor. His brain just got overwhelmed and saturated, and you say, do you hear what I'm saying? What did I just say? And he's going, what did she just say? I can't think. And too often, we need to remember, if you have something important to tell your boy, you're gonna find that if you go out for a walk, you take a ball. We call it a mediating object. You take an object, toss it back and forth. If it's a dad shooting hoops, but use something, and you'll be absolutely amazed at the difference in communication.
Wow!
If a boy has something to move about while he's talking, and the depth of the communication. Now, so you want to talk about cleaning the room? Hey, let's go outside. Let's toss the ball and bring that in and approach it entirely different, so he can hear. But then also be sure that you're setting up a system of natural consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So protecting the emotional lives, we need to remember boys are a lot more sensitive, and our culture doesn't really teach them how to deal with appropriate emotions.
Are you saying that boys then, when they're in an emotional state such as that, their dads maybe or the parents on them for cleaning the room, they just kind of check out, that they just on overload, they can't handle it? They can't process that?
There's times that's the case.
Wow.
Yeah. There's times where their mind is going to be somewhere else, and just setting up a pattern of, it's that honor and respect.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the hero, R, is responsibility. It's teaching them responsibility. It's going to clean your room. You don't throw your dirty clothes on the floor. But we're teaching them responsibility by teaching self-respect.
All right. Now, where do you weave faith into this process?
I'm going to weave faith in by every day having an opportunity just to find natural opportunities to talk about how God is answering prayer. A recent example, my 14-year-old, he was discouraged. The coach doesn't bring me I don't get to play many plays in football. He probably doesn't really like me. I go, hey, you know what? Let's just say a prayer about it. And we prayed, and good grief, that following game, you got to play more. It was doing well, having a fun time. And then I use that. Hey, do you remember we just prayed about that? And so finding opportunities to show that God is answering prayer, and even praying, hey, God, bring great friends in. Thank you for the friends, and pray for their relationships. But I'm always going to find a way also to speak. I'm going to call it a blessing. I'm always going to find a way to say those powerful words, I believe in you. And find ways to drop, even during the most difficult times. Teaching our boys to pray, and I've really watched the development of that.
How do you not compare between boys, and how do you keep your boys from comparing themselves to others?
By really describing what we're going to call unique gifts. I have one son who's 11. He is the dancer, the singer, the entertainer, and this morning he was on safety patrol, right? And I let him off at school, and he's out there with his flag playing an air guitar, and just okay. So his personality is totally different than my oldest son, and to acknowledge their unique gifts and the great ways that God made them. And we do need to be careful always. We know about favoritism. We know what that. Go to the scriptures and see some good examples of that.
Right.
I talked a little bit about that in the book as well. And we're just going to thank God that, hey, they're different, and God has a good plan.
All right, before I forget, I want you to come back. You've turned hero into an acronym, so we know that H was honor and R is respect. Let's go with the other letters in between there.
Okay. We'll do that.
Yeah. What's O?
Oh, well, I'm holding the book here, and O is originality, which we were kind of just talking about. Your uniqueness, your unique giftedness, the way that God has made you. Because if we don't feel original and special for being original, we're going to migrate over to those unhealthy groups. Remember, a young man is going to look, he's asking the questions, who am I?
Yeah.
And where do I fit in? And so they're going to start migrating and moving towards where they feel like they fit in. If I don't have a good sense of my uniqueness, my giftedness, my originality, I'm going to look for identity through others that, again, may not be the best.
All right, E?
E, enterprising. And boys are builders. Boys times are going to take things apart, and it's going to surprise us. And they're going to have dreams. Boys dream dreams. They're going to times say things that just are seem outlandish. We want to support them in their enterprising. I had my oldest son who I came home. It was this summer, and I came home, and this whole mini bike was entirely taken apart. all the parts were all over the garage floor. And of course, the first question is, why did you take it apart?
Yeah.
You can't ride it anymore. And, oh no, Dad, I have a plan. I'm going to make it into a go-kart.
Oh, boy.
And so our boys are going to think and see things different and see possibilities. Supporting the enterprising in appropriate ways is important.
All right, so it's honor, enterprising, responsibility, and original, right?
And we integrate this into that whole rite of passage.
Yeah.
You are a God-blessed hero, and there is a plan for your life.
Well, this is an incredible resource, and I just want to encourage our viewers and listeners to check it out. It's called Raising Boys by Design, What the Bible and the Brain Science Reveal about what your son needs to thrive. And there's a picture of it there on the screen. He's co-authored by Dr. Jantz, and it's put out by Waterbrook Press, and I'm sure you could check it out at the Christian bookstores, online at Amazon, or take a look for it at Barnes & Noble. Dr. Jantz, you're an inspiration. It's fun to see this. And two boys. You say you have a girl?
No, 2 boys.
Just 2 boys. All right, so I'm father of 2 boys. All right. Did the doctors switch them in the hospital? Are they opposites?
Yep.
That's quite an awakening, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a part of that originality, right?
Yeah. Do you see yourself in either one of them?
That'd be a question for my wife.
Oh. Okay, well, we'll have her on next time.
She'd have some opinions, yes.
All right, great. Nice to have you, my friend.
Thank you. And you know what? I do want to just say there is hope. And if you're struggling, I've got some great resources on the website as well. Be sure to check it out.